is continued agitation by the tribes of the FCT on land ownership, where they have refused to come to terms with the decision of the federal government and the present developmental policies of the FCT administration, which they say is evil.
Any Nigerian that will tell himself that the 8,000 square kilometers have been taken over, so original inhabitants should just forget it, that person is myopic, he is not sincere, he is not trying to face reality. Because if the federal government will come up with a decreased statement that 8,000 square kilometers is now vested in the federal government of Nigeria, portraying that federal override interest has come to the minds of Nigeria to have a capital for all Nigerians. It is to be demonstrated by the same federal government to follow the law that make Nigerian to have a federal federation that is obeying the law and is of the rule of law, to take original inhabitant property, 8,000 square kilometers of land based on law. Now, for any Nigerian to think, okay, it has been taken, that means they are trying to gather with the government to be and to build fallacy and error about taking over land, and tomorrow it will be very disastrous for the whole country, which is not correct. Yeah, it is not good. We believe that the federal government already in this land, federal government have demonstrated a behavior that it is never done anywhere in the world.
The pronouncement of President Goodluck Jonathan and Senator Bala Mohammed with the Council of Traditional Chiefs of the FCT that the federal government will include Indigenes in the affairs of governance in 2015 is viewed by the tribes as deceitful and coming late.
People have been applauding that statement as being welcome. I look at it differently. For me, I saw the president negotiating Abuja people's votes for appointments. Because what he did say was that if they are returned to office and when they are constituting government sometime next year around March, whatever, he said that there were credible people amongst his visitors and amongst the Abuja people to be appointed ministers and PAMSECs. For me, it's almost an insult. You know why? Because the issue of minister and PAMSECs are rights. They're not privileges. The only part of this country, the Abuja people who have no voice or representation in the federal cabinet. Only Abuja people. No, we don't even have a PA in the villa. Never. Since 99. Whereas every state under section 1473 is guaranteed one minister. FCT has not had since 99. But it's worse because what some states have 3. Not to talk about the senior special advisors, the senior special assistants, the personal assistants and other aides to the president. We don't have even a PA. Yet, under the Constitution, we are entitled, and it is a right. So what is he? It's not good news. It is overdue. We fought for this. Is why we sent a memo to the National Confab. And the Confab, that was the first recommendation from the National Confab, that FCT must be given its ministerial slot. And they said now, not that it needs, because it's a right. It's something that ought to be done now. Even when in the last 3 months he kept appointing ministers to fill up vacancies, he ought to have appointed this minister from an indigene of the FCT. So it's not good news.
The tribes are still not comfortable with the way the president has responded to the original inhabitants.
He is the number one citizen of Nigeria, and I believe every word that comes out from him for Nigerians will be taken in every letter of it. We agree with what he said. But the challenges we are having is that is it now that he knew this? He is our governor. He has finished first tenure. He never visited us, or he commanded his person he has appointed here to come and visit us. Is it because election is coming now he wants us to know that we are here? Okay, amen. Let it be that what he's saying will be true. We hope that he gets the second slot. But he should remember we are here. Maybe it's better than never. But if not, we are happy that he has said that, but at the same time with reservation. Why now? Is it now that he knew that he is the governor of FCT? Because from the day of his inauguration as the head of state, he is the head of state, at the same time the governor of FCT. He never cared to see anybody in the FCT. Neither did he say, Minister, make sure you go with them. If he has gone with them, which area? There's no clear plan for our people. We still are stateless.
They wonder why the government should invite a few traditional rulers for talks when they are more in number. Why will the government only recognize traditional council when it comes to land issue? Why is the government not working with realities on ground?
We still have, we cannot say who is the owner of this place. You want to take land here, you call chief to come and talk to the people about their land. Whereas in the 36 states of Nigeria, if a head of state wants to take any land in any state, he deals with the head governor or the chairman or a councillor of that place. But in FCT, it is a traditional institution that have no local standing even in the helm of affairs of the things of Nigeria. Why that dichotomy and confusion? We have written several letters to get in, to even just talk. We don't even want him to, let him just say, come, original habitant, we are here. We have not gotten that now. But instead we see the chiefs. Okay, maybe the chief, I do that maybe when he meet the chief, he has met the original habitant. But the challenge we have with that attitude is this. Millennium Development Goal did community study in FCT in 2008 and found out that there are 858 villages. Now there are only 13 graded chiefs amidst 858 villages. Is that justice? So 13 people will talk on behalf of 858 communities. Why now? And they came to be Decree 8, 1998, on the day Abacha and Jeremiah Hussein recognized their existence. Since then, no promotion, nothing. The villages are cities today, and nothing has been done about them. But they want to consecrate their land. Chief, come. Now you be the person. Whereas in the state, they see the governor, they see and then the minister here, he never visits. So what is this now? If it's not proper calculation to make sure that we are actually annihilated, whether we like it or not, which move is this?
The tribes say they have never fought any war and blame the provocation of fighting this war by elites and politicians that are selfishly intimidating them and collecting their land without compensation.
Please, Nigerians, correct this terrible thing. Original habitant is pleading because we, by our disposition, this Baji, Bari, Gede, Gana, Gwandara, Basa, Igbira, Koro, and Mama have never fought war, even before Nigeria was Nigeria within ourselves. Any war that has ever been attempted is not in FCT, and it was fueled by the elites and those who are after siphoning people's right and their property. It's not originally our people. So We have been coming the way we are. Nigerians that are here should include us in their character commission and in their selection of quota and civil service attitude and work.
The status of the Indigenes of the FCT has been against the official circular of 4th July 1979 by General Obasanjo's regime. It stated that those who are not affected by the first phase of resettlement but wish to move out of the territory may do so, but such people will have no claims on FCDA as they are not being forced to leave. The council representing the original Inhabitants Development Association at the National Human Rights Commission looks into the violation of this statement.
And so Section 1 of Decree number 6 states that all land and the entire territory of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, its title and ownership is vested in the federal government. He meant well. The problem is, 8 days later, Murtala was killed in a coup. Abuja died on 13 February 1976 when Murtala was killed. He was the visionary, and the vision died with him. Obasanjo took over. He succeeded Murtala. And in 1978, they commissioned a demographic survey of the territory. And so the cost of compensation and resettlement of these communities and 400,000 plus people at 2.8 billion to effect the total compensation and relocation or resettlement of the indigenous people and their communities, so that Abuja will be left virgin and vacant like Murtala intended.
The tribes have continued to point out the treatment given to them in the FCT as unacceptable. The fight against this treatment is beginning to take a different dimension, as the tribes have insisted that the creation of Abuja as a federal capital territory is ghost.
The Abuja today is a ghost. And a ghost has no place in the land of the living. We must bury this ghost. And the only way to bury this ghost is to go back to the vision of Murtala. He said the people inhabiting the area will be relocated at government expense.
What have the tribes done to seek redress on their claim of maltreatment by the federal government? A new policy of land swap introduced by Senator Bala Mohammed, who is the minister of the FCT.
We already have a brief being worked upon to challenge Section 297 of the Constitution. We are going to institute a case-stated proceedings. We're going to ask the courts of this land to interpret Section 297 vis-a-vis the fact that the compensation due and payable under Section 43 and 44, and indeed back to Section 30 of 1963 Constitution, is still not paid. How can Section 297 be justiciable or justifiable? And so we're going to challenge this section, its continuous existence and operation. And indeed, we're going to pray the court for the suspension of the operation of Section 297 to the Supreme Court. It's going to be a case-stated proceedings. We ask the Federal High Court to send it to the Court of Appeal as a case stated, and we're going to ask the Court of Appeal to send it to the Supreme Court as a case stated. The sine qua non, the condition precedence to Section 297, which is the payment of compensations, has still not been fulfilled 38 years. The title and ownership of our ancestral lands was confiscated, stolen by Decree number 6, 1976. And it has remained stolen and confiscated by the federal government. So, We are on our ancestral lands. Can you imagine? We own the land, but we don't have title and ownership. What kind of thing is that? If God federal government wants to continue to own and have title over our lands, it has to pay for it. Now, under the law, they are in 38 years in debt. And the law prescribes interest at bank rate for every day that that compensation is delayed. And we're going to claim all that. Going back to land swap, we were very clear and resolute in our submissions to the ministerial committee that looked into land swap. We stated and we made it clear to not just the FCTA authorities, but to Senator Bala Mohammed, the minister, that his land swap will never and can never work the way he wants it, on a 60-40 basis between private company owners, developers, and FCDA. 60% going to the companies and 40% to FCDA. Bala Mohammed made bold. You can't blame him. He made bold to say that he owns title under Section 297. And so he's taking the title and trading with it. Can you imagine? When the owners of the land have not been paid for 38 years now. And so we told the ministerial committee, and indeed the minister, honorable minister, that the only way land swap can work, we are not adverse to land swap totally, but we are saying it must be reformed and it can only work. And I am saying it again, it cannot be overemphasized. The only way land swap is going to work is if it is done as a tripartite agreement, not bipartisan. It cannot just be between FCDA and the companies. It must involve the communities. Each of those districts or communities in those districts must be put into the calculation, must be put, and we insist, and we have every right to insist, that the communities will be given 30%. 30%. However, the minister and the companies want to share 70%, is their business. And we have a right to demand 30%. Because, and we say our justification lies in the fact that title and ownership of our own land has been denied us and confiscated for 38 years. It's 30% is chicken feed. It's chicken feed. They are supposed to pay 100%. Bala Mohammed is supposed to pay 100% before he can take title and go and do business with it. We are the only people in this country, the Abuja people, perhaps in the world, that cannot go, every other Nigerian from any other state of the country can go and carve out his father's land, make a site plan of it, go to the lands and survey of that state, buy the form and apply for R of O and attach the site plan. And the governor of that state will give him a right of occupancy over his land. Every Nigerian can do that. Abuja people cannot. I cannot do that. You know why? Because of Section 297. Title has already been given to the federal government as far back as 4th February 1976. So tell me, where is the justice?
The Nigerian Constitution has empowered the federal government and has vested land ownership to the hands of the Minister of the FCT. Being a constitutional issue, the Indigenes have continued to seek for legislative solution from the National Assembly. Consequently, the inhabitants of the FCT have representatives in the National Assembly, which would have created a better approach to the review of the decree. The tribes, however, question the place and constitutional representation of their representatives and what has gone wrong.
What Bala Mohammed is laying claim to is that he owns the Federal Capital Territory. He has the title. He said Section 297 gives him, of the 1999 Constitution, gives him title and ownership. And so he can do whatever he likes with every piece and inch of the Federal Capital Territory. We have a senator. We have had senators since 1999 from amongst us. And House of Reps, 2 House of Reps since 1990. Although in the early days, they were not from Abuja, but in the recent past, from 2003, we had indigenous people in the House. And of the last dispensation in 2011, as far back as 2007, Senator Sidi Ali from Abuja is from here. He was a senator. Philip Aduda took over from him. Prior to that, Philip had served 2 years as the honorable member representing Amak Bori. Isadobi has been there about 3 times. I was asked this same question by, guess who? Senator Unwachuku, who co-chaired the conference committee on political restructuring and forms of governance when we took the memorandum we wrote, we call it the FC OIDA agenda, to the conference. We took it to his committee on the very last day. When we submitted to his committee and we engaged in a 10-minute discussion with the Honorable Senator, Chairman, and in a 10-minute discussion, 3 times he stopped me and asked me, Musa, where have your representatives been? You have all of these problems. He asked me 3 times, where have your representatives been? You've had a senator, you have reps. What have they been doing? I re-echoed the same question. What have our representatives done since 1999? And some of them are now vying to come back. Can you imagine that? It's not only that we have not had representation, indeed we have had misrepresentation. It's why we are now calling for change. By the grace of God, we are not going to return our representatives. We are going to elect more credible candidates. People will know who will deliver on the aspirations of the Abuja people as encapsulated in the 5 recommendations recently adopted by the National Conference and submitted to the President, which he has forwarded to the National Assembly. Indeed, those 5 recommendations and more form the agenda, the political agenda for canvassing votes of our people for the 2015 elections. We're going to ask every candidate who wants our vote, including the President, whether he can deliver on those 5 recommendations for us and more. And only those candidates we are sure will deliver on that agenda will get our votes. Simple. Our current representatives, incumbents, have not delivered. They are not capable of delivering. Indeed, they have misdelivered. They are all their years in the National Assembly and the Senate. Nothing has come forth. We are the ones that agitated and struggled for those 5 recommendations. Where have they been? Now they want to ride on it to go back to the Senate and the House. For what reason? And that is why I'm calling on the Abuja people and the electors of Abuja to open their eyes. This cannot continue. There's too much at stake in Abuja. We cannot continue to have this kind of representation in the National Assembly. We cannot. We cannot. Our Abuja the continued existence of Abuja is threatened. The Abuja issue, the Abuja question of the statelessness of its citizens, the original inhabitants, and the land, the status of the land, if it is not addressed now, what is happening in Niger Delta and what is happening in the Northeast will be small play when it happens in Abuja. You know why? In the Niger Delta, the land is still in the hands of the Niger Deltas. What they're agitating for is the oil gotten from the land. They still have the title and ownership of their lands. In fact, every oil well sunk in the Niger Delta, they have 5% goes back to the community. The proposed PIB bill pending now is recommending 10%. In the case of Abuja, it's the entire land that's been taken away since 1976. Tell me, which one is the greater injustice? So when our people now take to arms and start coming up, what do you think will happen? And it's going to happen very soon. And that is why we are very urgent in our submission to the National Conference. And we thank God that other Nigerians saw it with us. That memo was well taken by the Senator Umachukwu's committee. Well taken. They made those recommendations almost verbatim from our memo. And they took it to the plenary. And the plenary adopted it unanimously. It gives us hope. We're encouraged that other Nigerians know the problem. They appreciate the problem in Abuja. And that indeed, and that is what we submitted. We wrote it there. Abuja is a ticking down bomb. Abuja is a ticking time bomb. If it is not diffused now, when it explodes, imagine when the bombs start exploding here in Abuja. Imagine when the guns start. Imagine. We have all the nations of the world are here. Their embassies, for goodness sakes, some of those embassies, most of those embassies are built on unpaid land, uncompensated land. When our people now agitate that they want their lands back, what do you think will happen?
Damalele